China is one of the world's oldest continuous civilizations. For more than 4,000 years, societies have risen and fallen along the Yellow and Yangtze rivers. Empires have been built. Empires have collapsed. Yet, Chinese civilization has endured. This is not a story of constant triumph. It is a story of repeated survival. Again and again, China has stood on the edge of disintegration, fragmented by civil war, conquered by foreign empires, shattered by rebellion, devastated by famine. Yet each time, China has rebuilt itself. This is the long struggle that forged China. In ancient China, political authority was justified by a powerful idea, the mandate of heaven. Rulers were believed to govern with divine approval. Good government brought stability and prosperity. Bad government invited disaster, earthquakes, floods, invasion, rebellion. All were interpreted as signs that a dynasty had lost heaven's favor. This belief created a recurring historical cycle: unification, expansion, decay, collapse, renewal. It would repeat itself for over 2 millennia. The first ruler to unite China was Qi Shi Huang in 221 BCE. Before his rise, China consisted of rival warring states locked in constant conflict. Qin's armies crushed them one by one. He abolished feudalism, centralized power, standardized writing, currency, and law. Road networks connected the empire. Massive construction projects reshaped the landscape, including early sections of what later became the Great Wall. Qin Shi Huang ruled through fear. Hundreds of thousands were forced into labor. Dissent was brutally punished. Books were burned. Scholars were executed. When the first emperor died, rebellion erupted almost immediately. Within 4 years, the Qin dynasty collapsed. But the idea of a unified China survived. The Han dynasty replaced it. Under the Han, China entered its first great golden age. Confucian philosophy became the foundation of government. Officials were selected through examinations. Agriculture expanded. Population grew rapidly. Trade flourished along the Silk Road. China became a central hub of Eurasian commerce. Han armies expanded Chinese control into Central Asia, Korea, and Vietnam. For 4 centuries, China remained largely unified. Then, gradually, corruption spread. Court factions paralyzed decision-making. Large estates swallowed peasant farmland. Tax burdens increased. Rebellions erupted. By the 3rd century CE, the Han dynasty disintegrated. China broke apart into competing kingdoms. The long age of division began. For nearly 400 years, no single dynasty controlled all of China. Northern China was repeatedly invaded by nomadic peoples. Southern China developed separately. Despite political fragmentation, Chinese culture persisted. The written language remained. Confucian education continued. Bureaucratic traditions survived in local administrations. China was divided, but not destroyed. Reunification came under the Sui dynasty in the late 6th century. The Sui reunited China through massive military campaigns. They constructed the Grand Canal, linking north and south. But enormous building projects exhausted the population. The dynasty collapsed after only 2 emperors. Its successor, the Tang dynasty, inherited a unified empire. The Tang period became one of the most prosperous eras in Chinese history. The capital, Chang'an, became the largest city on earth. Foreign merchants and diplomats arrived from across Asia and the Middle East. Chinese culture, art, poetry, and science flourished. Tang armies projected power across Central Asia. China stood at the center of an interconnected world. But prosperity bred internal weakness. Powerful regional governors gained autonomy. Court intrigue intensified. In 755 CE, the An Lushan rebellion exploded, one of the deadliest conflicts in human history. Entire provinces were devastated. Tens of millions died. The Tang dynasty survived the rebellion, but never fully recovered. By 907 CE, Tang authority collapsed. China fractured once again. Another period of division followed. Eventually, reunification came under the Song dynasty. The Song presided over an economic and technological revolution. Printing became widespread. Gunpowder weapons were developed. Paper currency circulated. Urbanization accelerated. Living standards rose. But militarily, the Song were weak. They faced constant pressure from northern nomadic states. First the Khitan, then the Jurchen, finally the Mongols. The Mongol invasion of China began in the early 12th century. Mongol armies employed extreme violence. Cities that resisted were annihilated. Populations were massacred. Fields were burned. After decades of warfare, Mongol forces conquered all of China. Kublai Khan established the Yuan dynasty. China was ruled by a foreign elite. Many Chinese were barred from high office. Resentment simmered. Economic hardship spread. Rebellions multiplied. In the mid-14th century, a peasant uprising expelled the Mongols. The Ming dynasty was founded. Chinese rule was restored. The Ming emperors rebuilt China. They repaired canals, restored farmland, reconstructed cities. The Great Wall was expanded into its modern form. During the early Ming period, enormous naval expeditions were launched. Chinese fleets sailed to Southeast Asia, India, Arabia, and East Africa. These voyages demonstrated China's immense maritime capability. Then, the policy changed. The court abandoned overseas exploration. Resources were redirected inward. China turned toward internal stability. This decision would shape its future. While China looked inward, Europe looked outward. European states explored the globe. They built colonial empires. They developed advanced naval artillery. By the 19th century, European powers possessed military technology far superior to China's. When Britain attempted to expand trade with China, Chinese authorities resisted. Britain responded with force. The Opium Wars exposed China's weakness. Chinese armies were decisively defeated. Treaties forced China to open ports, grant foreign privileges, surrender territory. China's sovereignty was compromised. This marked the beginning of the century of humiliation. Foreign powers carved out spheres of influence. Russia expanded in the north. Britain dominated coastal trade. France pushed in the south. Japan emerged as a new imperial power. Internally, China faced massive rebellions. The Taiping Rebellion alone killed tens of millions. The Qing dynasty weakened steadily. In 1911, it collapsed. China became a republic. But real unity did not follow. Regional warlords ruled their own territories. Central authority remained fragile. In the 1930s, Japan launched a full-scale invasion of China. Major cities fell. Mass atrocities occurred. Millions of civilians were killed. Chinese forces resisted, but suffered enormous losses. Despite internal divisions, Chinese society mobilized for survival. The war against Japan became a national struggle. When World War II ended, China emerged devastated. Between 15 and 20 million Chinese were dead.
Infrastructure lay in ruins. Industry was shattered. A new conflict began almost immediately. Civil war between nationalists and communists. The communists, led by Mao Zedong, gradually gained the upper hand. They promised land reform. They cultivated peasant support. They maintained strict discipline. In 1949, communist forces captured Beijing. The People's Republic of China was proclaimed. China was unified once again. But unity did not bring immediate stability. Early communist policies produced disastrous results. Collectivization disrupted agriculture. The Great Leap Forward caused famine. Tens of millions died. Political campaigns targeted intellectuals and officials. The Cultural Revolution